are my ultra hi-fi members. I haven't made a video in a minute. So here's the latest with the Q7s I wanted to show you. So here is so the Carta's rule of speaker placement says that what you have to do is get the width of the room. Width is this, right? And multiply that times 0.447. Okay, so you get the width of your room, multiply it times 0.447. And that number, okay, is essentially where the front of your speaker will be. So it's like right here for me from the rear wall. Essentially, this number that you get with that multiplication is where the front of your speaker will be to the back wall, the wall behind it. And mine is 76 inches. Okay? So that's usually rule of thumb, what they say to do. Surprisingly, I like what I'm hearing with that math. Now, there is another formula by Jim Smith, the guy who no longer does speaker placement because he's pretty sick, as far as I know. And he likes to do the 0.83 formula. What the hell is 0.83? 0.83 is simply the following. You take the distance from tweeter, let me see if I can get it. Tweeter to tweeter, that's 108 inches from this tweeter to that tweeter, 108 inches. And then you grab from this tweeter, right? You're gonna aim at where your listening chair is. And that's 126 for me. Okay, so what you do now is you take that 108 that you see here, divided by 126. That number should be 0.83, as close as possible as you can get it to 0.83, okay? Those are the three things that I have done, okay? Multiplied the width of the room from wall to wall times 0.447, and then that will be your distance from the front of the speaker to the wall behind it, okay? That's a very good starting point. Then you get, again, this distance from the tweeter to that tweeter, and then from the tweeter of the speaker to where you're seated. And you divide this by this distance, okay? And that number should be close to 0.83, okay? So it's an approximation. Listen, I know we have coffee tables. We got all kinds of shit in the middle that make it near impossible. But if you start there, okay, plopping the speakers with what I have just given you, I think you get a very good starting point, okay? In most cases, that will give you a very good idea of where you're at. Yes, then you got to fuck with it a little bit. 2 inches forward, 2 inches backwards, left to right. But I think once you do this math, you're going to be, I would say, 85 to 90% of where the speaker should be in your room. All right? That is my advice or hint or tip to you. Now, here's another thing that I didn't say to you anything about. This shit right here, this makes a massive difference to that tweeter. Yesterday, I removed them and put them back here just to get them away from the speakers. And although the speakers do definitely open up more when I remove that from here, believe it or not, the tweeter can get a little hot when I remove that. So the reason for that is because that is the first reflection point. And so it is important that you treat the first reflection point. Now, I know I have treatment behind the wall, but for whatever reason, this treatment for me is doing a better job at keeping the tweeter smooth even when you crank up the volume. So those of you who came out, remember, you never really got this Q7 to sound very bright, extremely bright, like most other beryllium tweeters out there. I found out, I think it's because of this shit. So keep that in mind to treat your first reflection point. I love these things because you can shift them. And why is that important? Because you got to go off of where that speaker is going to be. So if I push that speaker backward more, that now needs to move forward to be part of the first reflection point of the speaker. This is why I like these things, because you can move them, okay? So, and then obviously you can swing them around, making a reflection point or absorption, whatever you want. So I'm just fucking with it, swinging them around, and sitting down and listening to the Q7s and see where I prefer it. I'm still working on it, but it's a really cool thing and a starting point for you all to take notes on. So hopefully this video serves you quite well in your own setups.